Ororon. We have more power grip in NATLAN. Today, and briefly, Ororon seems official, also a 4 stars, but multi-target, which is the big difference with Fischl, since you all know that Fischl is an electro sub-DPS of an incredible amount of hits, but limited to strike against a single enemy, and to this day Ororon is not only Archer, that is we'll see how they have, in quotation marks, limited, but broadly speaking. To give you an idea, let's analyze the Ororon kit with gameplays and so on, because you're seeing this after the livestream exit, but as I say, so that more or less the mental map of what the character does is easy, is a much better Fischl, which is also multi-target. Leave a good like, a good ulti, then subscribe, leave a good comment for the algorithm. Thank you for enjoying and seeing the video and the channel. Thank you for all the affection and support. And remember, it costs you nothing. It is totally free, recommends positions, viralizes a video, makes the entire team grow enormously. The channel and the channel project itself, thanks for all this, and also our already active Thea. Blessing draws. To win a lunar blessing, you just have to comment, leave it good. Like the video, an ulti of Bennett, and subscribe with bell. Only with that you already participate one blessing. So lots of luck with blessing, and come on, and thank you for everything, the love and support, and we go with the Ororon kit. Well, we start first, in theory we can. Pre-punch. I don't know if the boss you can get the new one out of 5.2, I think not. I think it's the... oh... it's the boss that's the red Tailogactyl. You can pre-farmate it completely. So over here, the editors will be putting the pre-farm, and the scaling of this 4 stars is attack. Percentage like Fischl. I'm going to compare several things to Fischl so that we understand what you can do and what not. As I say, is a multi-target Fischl, and has limitations on equipment. Electro-charged and overloaded. Fischl is used in some aggravation equipment, with which we will say, well, Ororon can also be used in aggravating equipment. We will comment, and about all this I will specify much more when the character comes out and his will. Today, we will review about the kit. And finally, he has Noctambulism point mechanics and Noctambula blessing state. With which Ororon, apart from being an archer and being able to carry, for example, the Aqua Simulacra, who has an Aqua Simulacra to spare, can carry NATLAN's set and activate it perfectly. That gives you 15 damage inflicted, 2 pieces and 40 probability, 4 pieces so. Again, it's a 4 star that can weather proportions which Xingqiu can't weather. Proportions. You've never seen an Xingqiu 70 probability, 240 critical damage. Xiangling no. Can weather proportions. With a lot of difficulty you get to have 70 probability, 200 of damage in Xiangling. And Fischl cannot weather proportions, again a Fischl with, for example, wings. Heavenly, it's relatively difficult to reach 7200. Maybe there are people who have a little bit more. But Ororon with NATLAN set and an Aqua Simulacra can weather proportions. And this is what? I'm simply talking about the possibility of driving your damage in combination with Furina. Or combination very crazy. With Bennett and combined with other characters and teams, as I remember that it's a DPS sub. But it gives 2 contributions of energy and attack to the team or character in field specifically. Your normal attack is not used. It is a sub-DPS, it is not used loaded, it is not used normal attack. Your elementary ability doesn't have much of this. It's very easy. You throw a ball that. It's going to bounce between enemies at most 3 times. If you have the cone, it's going to bounce 5 times. And every enemy is going to do an electro hit that will make an interesting climb of 355% of the Ororon attack. Cooldown 15 seconds. This is interesting and obviously just to go, leaving the electro applied to enemies to then make reactions. It is infallible. You don't need to aim. You don't need anything. You throw it in the air and directly like skill. Baiju Elemental with more speed will chase the enemies, will pass between them and will come back. Very easy, the elementary skill, and obviously the combo is ulti elemental and you get out of the field. Ultis is so showy that you're watching on screen that he's already around with the gameplays, which is basically like some kind of spiral, a spinner that spins and goes like pulses. They look like sound waves, electros to enemies, turns and beats. You see multi-hits that are doing a lot of damage blows. This is like I said, like Fischl. Makes many multi-hits, but in area. Basically, the features of your ulti are an initial hit, 313%, that would be the strong blow, and then all pulses are at talent 10 of 60% scale. Low pulses. The story with these pulses is that they are many, and that they have many talents and constellations that will give you multi-hits or will make the spinner spin faster, so that do much more damage in clear. Even if the hits are short, it has a high amount of damage per the multi-hits it makes. Here you can see that they wanted to resemble it to Fischl with the amount of continuous blows that you're making, that you don't make a giant hit like 50 Siangling. 60,000 outside the field. You make so many little hits that in the end the damage can be equated or overcome. Apart from this spinner touring taunt, i.e. supposedly attracts the agriculture of enemies, the enemies are going to post and hit this construction. It is not limited, that is to say, it does not have. They won't hit her until they break her or anything, but they'll always bring her while she's in the field. And let's remember that these taunts are pretty useless, that the AI of enemies is wrong. Wow, I recently made a video of the forgotten mechanics and in fact, the editors can rescue perfectly little things from that video where I teach that the taunt and how enemies card linnets taunt or Ganyu's flower, which is also a taunt, or the elemental Mona or some etceteras that are not used today in Ancient Impact. Well, an extra contribution that's a taunt too. Well, what difference does this make? Today, the noctambul nature of the blows is used, so that new enemies of the far, that there is one in the boss's event, these are like a blue flower that become others. Enemies, they have a bar to come down with bonus hits, general elemental damage. Viewing here on screen exactly what I mean, because they are also enemies who are currently on Arconte's mission 5.0. That is, these enemies from here on screen. Now, characteristics of the ulti, which has been a lot of text, but you actually throw this, it starts to spin. Well, the cost of energy is 60, but there's a talent for you. It reduces 9 the cost, which is a real cost of 51. And there is also a constellation. If you get the C4, it's a 4 stars, so you might get it, which reduces others. 8 points. I mean, actually the cost with C4 is 43. Then remember that I said that the cost of view in C4 is 40, with which it has one of the lowest costs of the game, with which surely not. You have to invest in recharge, you have to invest in critical proportion. With Electro Chalice attack and helmet probability or damage, and in Substat critical probability. Critical damage and attack percent, because recharge surely requires 125, 130 and per multi, and pa. Then, cooldown of 15. Which is a 15-second rotation sub-DPS, and this is very well because the 4 stars that usually limit have 20 rotations like Xingqiu or Xianglin that I always explain to you, and Baidu is also 20, with which this, of course, improves Baidu, and its duration is 9 seconds. 9 seconds duration of the ulti. Here comes the limitation. If it was a full uptime, that's what the new ones will say, he's already talking in ugly Chinese. Is basically, if its duration was 15 of cooldown and 15 of use would have full uptime, i.e. full time you're doing stuff to provide the team. Here you have 9 seconds and 15 cooldown. 9 plus a second and a half of the casting of the animation you have with the ulti. It'll be 10.5 seconds with what we say you have 4 seconds where you don't do anything. Doesn't do anything, JPG, you know the meme, because those 4 seconds hurt because it's 4. Seconds you're not doing anything, and apart I think you've limited it so that if you were 15-15, a lot of people would put the horror triple mastery to play it with Hyper Bloom, because I'd say good. I throw this 15-15 and I start to explode Hyper Blooms, even if I don't cure like Kooky. But at least I could do things right. Well no, they have limited it here so that by not having 15-15, not to be played to explode Hyper Blooms with the ulti, but only to use Electrocharged and in. What if it's in Agravite teams? Though in Agravite teams, maybe Fischl. Against an enemy you are still better. Talents. We remove the talents, much text from the NATLAN characters, who you know, all have talent that puts you 10 chapters of a novel and tells you that basically when you're in NATLAN you use Phlogisto and you can switch between characters, and it is very nice, but basically the initial talent. It says when a close character cause a noctambulous explosion, horrifying gets 40 points of noctambulism. This is easy because, always and at least there will be a nightly explosion, and if you play Silonen or play Mavuka, in the future or you play several NATLAN characters, each character will make you able reduce the cooldown of each Noctambula explosion, or for example, Silonen to see 2 explosions. Noctambulas because he has a talent that gives you an extra Noctambul explosion for 15 seconds. After using the elementary skill, when another character on the team hits an enemy without Hydro or Electro, Horrifying gets 5 points of Noctambulism. Obviously they're shutting you down, for you to play Electro-charged or overloaded. This effect can only be activated once every 0.3 and happen 10 times while I activate you, i.e. you can earn another 50 points plus 40 from the explosion. 90 total Noctambulism points. The maximum of points you can get in horror is 80. That is to say, you can get 90, but with 80 you already have the limit of horror. Here we start already with the a lot of text, look chill. I'm messing around calmly, and now I'm summarizing it when a close enemy receives damage. The reaction of electro-charge to other close character inflicts damage to nature in Noctambula. If the horror gets 10 points of Noctambulism, consumes them, enters into Blessing Noctambula and activates the ultra-perceptive effect. Here comes what I am going to explain to you, and now it is, which inflicts electro damage of Noctambula nature to a maximum of 4 nearby enemies in an amount equivalent to 160% of the horrifying attack. It can be activated once every 1.8, i.e. for at least 15 seconds off the field that you are when you throw the ulti 15 or 14-13. This you will be able to activate multiple times. I understand that 5-6 times. I'm sure you can activate 5, I guess at least because 1.8x5 doesn't reach 10 seconds. With which 5 times can be activated. Summary that if you win Noctambulism points with reactions, Electrocharge Devasti or Electro, basically this is going to make every 1.8 out of the active field again multi-hits Electro summary, and this is something similar to Fischl, i.e. Fischl has a talent that says that every time there's an Electro reaction the crow releases another hit Electro that scales with Fischl's attack. This is the same and feels the meme of Falager by here is equal the state of blessing Noctambula Ororon lasts 6 seconds, but good as it is, then activate this Noctambula blessing twice 12 seconds. This last one is not so. Important thing is that once every 1.8, activate this hit that can hit up to 4 enemies that scale with a 160% attack if you earn Noctambulism points to do more. Multi-hits Electro to increase damage and to reapply that Electrocharge reaction. As you can see, it's a talent that gives us more multi-hits out of the field, and it's the one that makes us have Noctambulism points to activate the Obsidian set to be a sub-DPS with a set that you send talent when the character in use hits an enemy with a normal attack. Charged downward is to say that it is not horrifying such character recovers 3 points of energy. Also horrifying if it is on your team but not in use, i.e. off the field also recovers 3. Elementary energy points can be made 3 times every 15 seconds that lasts the passive of this talent that makes you a drummer, and the character in field gives 9 points of energy. And horror also regenerates 9 points of energy, so the cost is not 60 that I told you before. In horror, if it is not cost of 51 and already with the C4 it is cost of 43, that is very low. This is horrifying. Achero, as you see, is elemental ulti, earns Noctambulism points if you have Hydro characters or Electro hitting, and as I say, overloads there too will be able to use but reactions. They're just in the characters he's asking you to hit with Hydro or Electro. But it doesn't close you to the team beat Hydro or Electro, but you can play with Dendros, with Pyro, with whatever you want with Animos. Like Chaska only says you hit with a character Hydro or Electro, but if you go to Furina on the team, I'm sure it's going to activate the hits. Then constellations, here comes the interesting, and the does something strong. The cone and the C2 give you more damage to horror in summary, with which is a lot of text, but I'm going to summarize it first. Cone, the spiritual orb of your elementary ability, hits twice as much. As I said before, instead of 3 hits now, it's going to be 5 hits and apart when the spiritual orb hits an enemy, applies effect to the brigade 12 seconds, i.e. it puts a point effect increase in 50% of the year you receive with the effect of ultra perception of passive talent. The multi-hits of talent that make multi-hits, which is a lot of summary text, is more damage to horror, more damage with the elemental, and more damage with the extra hits of passive talent it does. Skip more hits to make more multi-reactions in summary. Second constellation, when using the ulti, horror has no other effect but 9 seconds. The ulti lasts 9 seconds, with which perfect, and this effect gives 8 bonus electro damage that can accumulate up to 32 per 100 electro damage for every enemy who has been hit with your ulti. Summarizes that when you play against an enemy, because Fischl does more harm and when you play against several, with the C2 of Horror, will earn up to 32% of basic damage bonus, but if you play against horrifying enemies with the C2E, it will only gain 8% elemental damage, i.e., it can be activated 4 times against 4 enemies. 32 elemental damage, good damage electro. In fact, is the C2 is 32 damage electro for Ororon. But if you go against 4 enemies, if you go against 1/8 electro damage, with what you see as horrifying, multi-target visual uni-target, but there are more and more enemies, more and more multi-target good, not every time there are. More bosses that are one enemy with which care than C3 and C5 elemental and ulti, plus 3 Thi. C4 already to spoil on before is that of the energy, says increase 25% the speed of turn of the moon. Zonikai, the ulti, the ulti spins faster, with which it makes more hits, and that is because more damage at the end, no. And a part Horror recovers 8 points of energy when using the ulti. That is to say, you reduce with the C4 the cost of your ulti from 51 to 43 cost of 43 with the C4. So that, it's weird, it's ambiguous, but it's going to give you a lot of attack on the character in the field, and it's moderately strong. Obviously, it's going to make the character in the field work with attack. That's to say, it's done for. That you don't buff too much to a new billet, that maybe you can play new billet electro-charged with ill Horror to multi-target, but they have said no to new billet already. You play with Furina, with Kazuha, and she alone, and on Horror, leave me alone for attack character, says after activating the U. Ultra Perception is to say the talent this of the much text that makes multi-hits out of the field. The character attack in the field increases 10%. 9 seconds here doesn't put anything more than died. It happens that 10% for a Shiki will say good is terrible. History is in that talent. Multi-hits is activated once every 1.8, with which the character in field, the more time in field is more, is going to win 10% plus 10% plus 10%. And if it's a carry that is in field 10 seconds, you can win when you are close to the second 10-50%. Attack is a gross 50%. Attack is more than double than a noble set, but it is similar to the ulti of Yelan is accumulating, and the more time passes, the more bonus attack is giving you, but it's close to the character coming out of the field, so it's interesting, and it says the 6. When using the ulti, the echo effect of darkness is activated once, an effect equivalent to the Thay. Ultra Perception, which infringes 200% of original damage, is to say just rip Thay. Rotation you're going to activate, I guess. Skill talent is from the lot of text where you'll activate 10% attack the character in the field, and besides the Chi 6 activates a talent again of 4. Extra Ultra Perception that infringes extra damage, and I also imagine that it will also activate that 10%, with which the T-Skick starts by giving you a 20% attack on the character in field, plus the hit. This one that's like an extra talent hit. I know it can be a little complicated, but it's easy when you understand it, and that from there, then 20% to the character in field, 2 seconds. Then 32 seconds after 42 seconds, because 50, and I guess that character already out there. In the field that's between 8 and 10 seconds, it's gonna get out of the field, so now more than 50 I don't think. But basically the cheeks activates you one more load of talent. This multi-hits the one of the much text and makes them jump more. Multi-hits in summary, this is Ororon no more is a sub-DPS electro. That hits multi-target very well, that will have quite high damages, that also combines with the Hue, NATLAN Zet and Carry Bow, with which whoever wants to take it to heaven, surely a combination of the Simulacra plus NATLAN Set allows you to weather proportions. And this is not going to make any sense. The Reg are very low, and to activate the talent this, and some passive you have to hit with some acid. Hydro character at least to generate some electrocharged reaction to accumulate. Noctambulism points to activate the set and do more damage and more multi-hits, so that in the end will be close the electrocharged equipment a little, and that the C's will attack the character percent. In the field is to say they distance it, or let's say they balance if you're going to play with Novelet, but surely Sun Novelet electrocharged equipment with this man also works pretty well, so this is smelly in my opinion, and an easy to reason summary is a believing fischl power that, in addition to uniting yet, as it will hit much more on multi-target, are not entirely displacing too. Fischl because against a single enemy and in reactions from within, perhaps Fischl surely keep being better, because as you see, if there's no electrocharged out there, bottom doesn't activate everything. Well then, Fischl will be played with inside and will be played against an enemy serum, mainly, and smell will be like the power creep multi-target with an abysmal multi-target damage above Fischl. Even though Fischl has a lot of damage, little joke with Fischl's damage. And now this is smelly and then you'll say, Phil, you haven't talked about the exploration. He makes a little jump in vertical and allows you to. Planning this in theory can be activated in the air as Kazuha, so it's interesting, but it's just that he doesn't have the smell exploration anymore. I think that of all the maps there are is the poorest. Makes you a little jump up and you plan on smelly spot is that doesn't have any more little more kit of all. Smell, and I think today you will also see the Chaska kit. So it would be because the day will be Kaz. The next video after this or before this, I don't know if you've seen him, go look for it. And thank you for watching the video. If I didn't upload it today, I'll upload it the next day if you do. I want to see the Chaska kit I uploaded these days. Thanks for the support. Thanks for signing up. Bell, remember, if you haven't done it now, it's time to leave like to support the video. You liked it and you have come to the end, and remember that just by doing that you already enter. Draw a blessing a day, so don't forget that it's totally free. And again, bye. My thank you, very little bit more care to have very good day, Not, and Minnie and Minus and Kaito.